Welcome to another episode of Living Life Naturally. And today I have with me Victoria Rader. She's a Ph.D, a possibility coach, transformational speaker, and founder of You2 Shine internationally. No, is that right? You2 Shine internationally. Best-selling author of Prosper ME, the 35 universal laws to make money work for you, as well as 3 other books. And she empowers her clients to grow in all areas of their life through a proven formula of success so that they have peace, purpose, and prosperity, the 3 Ps. And in 2009, during the recession, Victoria became a successful top 1% of real estate agents while homeschooling her kids. And Victoria started training and seeing the limitations imposed by the subconscious mind. Later, she received a Ph.D. in Metaphysics to understand better how we create our daily reality. And Victoria got certified in many energy healing modalities and traditional success coaching approaches. And she founded free ME, EFT, and Quantum Freedom techniques as a way to free one's mind. So she has actually witnessed physical healings for her clients, including a miraculous heart healing for her nephew, as well as a practical, powerful shift in finances, career, and relationships. So she loves teaching on the universal or God's laws or the practical daily application for people of faith and spiritual seekers, which bridges the gap of judgment through love, which for her stands for life originating vibrant emotion. So welcome to our podcast today, Victoria. We're thrilled to have you here.
Lynn, thank you very much for having me.
And please tell our listeners where you're joining us from.
So right now I'm actually coming in from North Carolina, where my husband and I have a beautiful beach home that we spend time off season. We rent it during season, off season. This is our little refuge.
That's awesome. And how is your weather there at the moment?
Calm. For now, it is calm. I know we
That's
talked
great.
about hurricanes in Florida. For now, it is calm here.
That's awesome. So you've really been through quite a transformation in your own life. Would you like to tell us a little about that and what got you started doing what you do?
Absolutely. And I think, we often compare the process of transformations to beautiful butterflies where, it goes through all of these stages of development. But I think I found that life isn't necessarily that chronologically aligned. If I were a butterfly, I'd go back into cocoon stage several times, You just come
Yes.
out and there's no flying happening, you go back into the cocoon. At least this has been my observation that life is truly about a series of transformations, and some of them happen so quietly. And looking back, it's the things that we overlook the most that I found to be the key to our growth. And so one of the things that I tend to do now is to tell my clients I get paid to point out the obvious. I don't know that it's legal or that it should be, but there is a certain level of fulfillment and joy for all of us. Because sometimes I think we get so blinded by seeking something we think outside of our reach, while the gold of joy and fulfillment is right by our side. And so for me, those series of transformations started very early in my life because, I was born in the Soviet Union, in part of the country that is Ukraine.
Mm.
And I was there at the end of the era of complete absence of freedom. You couldn't choose which classes to take. You were given a curriculum. Graduating, you really couldn't choose too many directions to go with. You had a aptitude test, and the government lovingly placed you within your talents, or directed you. And by the time I was going through school, this has really lightened up quite a bit. The regime was on its way out, but I caught enough of it to, I believe, have received a great gift that when you have very little control over things that are around you, you remain in complete control over things within your mind. And I believe that was the best gift I could have received. To understand that no matter how hopeless it seems, it never is. And then just reclaim that. And then say the first choice is how I react to what's happening. And the second choice is which questions do I ask of myself to start shifting it to something else. So that was the first realization, in my life. And there were a series of them that guided me to where I am. When you look at that bio, it looks, all bios are like little eulogies. Welcome to a funeral of an unrealistic life of success. And what does it tell you is every night for the first year of being in real estate, sobbing in bed because I'm naturally very shy and needing to reach out and meet strangers and ask them whether they need to buy or sell their home. And the amount of turmoil that was. So the biggest transformation for me was to understand that the only thing that is hurt in the process of making myself uncomfortable is my ego and not my soul. And to understand that has shifted everything in my life, where everything I do, people say, well, public speaking is number one fear. I said, it is if you care what people think. But if you come up with the purpose of finding the one person who was praying for a message that might be delivered through you, it becomes irrelevant. And so that's been the transformation of my life, the slow, steady death of ego addicted to appreciation and the birth of a soul that is nourished by freedom. And I believe that is the gift I bring into, life of every one of my clients.
So how do you see, or how do you help people transform in their own lives in this process of healing and wholeness?
Yeah. When you were sharing the purpose of what we're doing as a company and me individually is really those 3 Ps. You said 3 Ps, and then for the first time in my mind, it played like peas in the pod. And of course, I was stuck on that. Now, speaking of a shiny object, I'm like, oh, come back, Vika. But so those 3 are really directions in our life, but in my practice, they're one path of development. You see, I think you can have financial success without peace of mind, but to me, it's not worth it. And it's not lasting, it's not temporarily. And true prosperity comes only as a result of first peace and then purpose. And so when somebody comes into my life, into our practice, we first find what it is in a person's life that prevents them from experiencing connection to the deep inner peace. What is it that by shifting it, what subconscious programs or what conscious habits does a person have that by shifting them, they can reclaim the feeling of inner peace? Because being connected deeper and deeper into inner peace, one's purpose becomes more clear. And once one's purpose becomes clear, our talents, our natural uniqueness, I believe every one of us is uniquely aligned with our path of purpose. But if we're anxious about finding it, we cannot tune into it, for the lack of a better word. And so as you heal your heart to receive God's love, I see God as great overall designer. You can refer to God as universe. I say God is the one that's created the universe. However your language allows for you for divine presence. To me, peace is awareness of the love that is there for you as you are now. Prior to you growing, prior to you shifting, prior to you accomplishing. Once you lean into that love, through the peaceful presence of that love, you find your purpose for today, not for 20 years. We're talking one day at a time. You recenter within peaceful presence for the day. You find the purpose for the day. And eventually, day at a time, you experience how the life of prosperity unfolds. So unfortunately, if you're tuning in for a quick fix at $19.99, 3 pills, pop in, be happy tomorrow, you're set for disappointment. But a day at a time, it's a gorgeous journey of fulfillment.
I can so relate to that. I mean, that in the health realm, but also in my own life, because I think that probably as we slowed down during the pandemic, we really had to take it a day at a time. And for many of us, we've been more aware of the fact that we have to live in the moment, or as you say, not step too far, because then what do we get into? We get away from that love and peace, and we get into worry and anxiety and sickness. So I have been trying to be more aware of being present in the moment and enjoying life as it comes each day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, a lot of people said, well, COVID took away our control. And I thought to myself, very much to what you're saying, no, it just showed us that we have none. You know it, Lynn, you've worked with people that have done all the right things and yet have not gotten the results to support their effort. And it can be very frustrating, because there's something that they're unaware that is maybe harming them, but they're doing the best they know how. And so I think everything that we do is equips a person to do the most aligned efforts and mindset and the skill set to invite the results without being attached to them, but being open that they might and will be much greater than anything we can possibly wish for. And it's an interesting dance of doing your best without controlling the outcome, but trusting the outcome, because it takes the immense pressure of responsibility for guaranteeing that result. Mm-hmm. So I'm just guaranteeing that I'm going to put my best effort in and continually expand it. In the Prosper Me book, one of the laws I write about is the law of growth. And I say, okay, the law of growth has a formula of success, which is your mindset multiplied by your skill set, multiplied by your effort equals results. If you allow for yourself to bring God into equation on the left, where you multiply mindset, skill set, and effort by that divine power that is there for you, your results become infinite. So you can limit the results to your own small persistence, or you can open yourself to really miraculous things in your life. So that's a bigger shift that will help everybody see, because people will come and say, I've done all of this and yet I'm stuck. And so how do you resolve that?
Now, what does, because you talk a lot about wholeness and love, and what does that have to do with prosperity?
In a nutshell, everything. in a detail. I try to always attribute to the source where I hear the idea, when it is not coming through me but was there for me. But I don't remember where I first read it or heard this phrase, but I've used it many times. Sometimes I work with my very wealthy, very anxious clients, and they're not prospering. They're not prospering. They have money, but they're not prospering because their health is paying a very high price for the stress that they've put into making money, or their relationship is hurting and harmful. So for me, prosperity is a balanced life of fulfillment and peace. And so and love is the life originating vibrant emotion. It's the adding to life in the best way you're equipped to. But going back to to that phrase that I'm mentioning, is that somebody said, you can have more than any wealthy person when you realize you have enough. And it's huge. Once you look at your life as it is now, and instead of saying, I am in lack because you're in survival, and I must get more, that is a very poisonous long-term program, because it is a subconscious program of lack. And so what happens, either you reclaim more and then you're afraid to lose it and you lose it, or you continually want more and you don't seem to get it, right? And the reason why is because the very energy of who you are then is a person who is lacking. And that person who is lacking is running around, running around after something that is running away from them. And so what love allows for you to do is to fall in love with what you have so fully and completely through the law of gratitude that more of the like opportunities are open to you, and you start a steady process of expanding into your prosperity. So when you look at the table that is beaten up and you say, catch yourself thinking, oh, I need to get new furniture, this is ugly, that is a thought of lack.
Mm-hmm.
And that thought of lack will create bigger and bigger gaps of lack, because you'll get a new table and you'll realize your new $3,000 table does not fit in your $150,000 condo. And then you need to have a bigger condo to be happy. And that poisonous pattern, if only, then I will be, keeps us empty. So you hug that broken table. You say, thank you for keeping my food for me that I don't have to do on my lap. And an incredible shift happens. If you find in you the power to fall in love with your life blossoms, and you discover new opportunities of your friend calling you and saying, hey, we just moved and I have a table. Do you know of somebody who needs it? And you allow for that miracle coming into your life from the place of already loving what you have.
Yeah, that's really a key component. And I think that, especially here in the US, we take so much for granted. And even some of the European countries, Canada, we have so much, but we think that we have so little. But if you coming from the Ukraine can even doubly appreciate this, that we have so much more than we actually need. And what gets in our way is this want and desire for more, because we're not grateful for the little things. So even, for people who are sick in my line of work, they may get out of bed and they're so negative because they don't feel well. But if we can start, maybe this is wonderful, I was able to get out of bed today and get up and get a cup of coffee, what a blessing that is. Then that kind of snowballs. It has a snowball effect as we put gratitude into practice. I'm sure
Absolutely.
you find that.
And to add to that aspect of health even more, is what we focus on expands. It is a universal law, where our focus goes, energy flows. We've heard it. It happens to be very true. And so when you find yourself in a diseased state, which we all have gone through, you make a mental option or choice that you might be unaware you're making. Are you focusing on the factor of disease? Or are you focusing on everything else in your body that is properly working? So sometimes when we have somebody who comes to shift their mindset about their chronic or incurable disease, right? I've helped a lot of my stage 4 clients that have come for help to transition in a peaceful way, to realize is that you are not your disease. It's a visitor in your body. Well, you can't pay attention to your visitor 24/7. You have a whole house to take care of, and kids and life and jobs. So just tell your visitors, stay put. I'll be right back. When you need a medication or you need a doctor, I'll be right back. Right now I'm going to go and see, wait a minute, can I still see? I can. Am I using my eyes fully to see the beauty of life? Wow, I'm not blind. You can spend a day in sheer gratitude for the gift of eyesight. Just close your eyes for 2 hours and walk around, stumble into the walls, so that you can appreciate what you now have, right? And some of the people that see the most are blind people, because they don't take the gift of sight for granted, and they've compensated for it. They see with their hands, they see with their hearts, right? They think, in my mind, I have few blind clients and friends, they live so fully because they compensate for the lack of that one gift that we take for granted. So I think to add to that beautiful observation, of seeking for blessings, is focus on health within your body and treat the disease as a visitor. That's going to leave.
That's a great way to look at it. So, you also incorporate EFT into your practice, right? And explain a little to our audience what it is and how it helps people through certain, especially if they're stuck in a certain area.
Absolutely. So, EFT is emotional freedom techniques, and that is a technique that's been around for about 30 years now. It's developing in different ways, and it is based on this study. It's actually one of the few energy modalities that is welcome as a continued education by our American Medical Society because it has irrefutable clinical studies showing the benefits. And so some of the nurses are now being equipped with this incredible tool. And so it is based on therapy of exposure therapy, and the meridians of energy in your body on which acupuncture is based. So pretty much putting the two together, they are pressure points that you can gently tap on your body. One is the top of the head, inside the eyebrow, outside the eyebrow, under the eye, under the nose, chin, collarbone and itch under, and under the armpit. That's it. That's the simple flow, without getting too complex. And by gently tapping on those points, while bringing into light, while exposing the heavy feeling you go through, that feeling that is trapped, the emotion that is trapped, the trauma that is trapped around that emotion is actually grounded. We're electric beings, we do electrocardiogram and encephalogram, which is we measure the electric activity of our organs. Every time we think a thought, there's an electric signal. The electric signal creates a magnetic field. The magnetic field is interpreted by the body as the emotion through surge of hormones. So we're electromagnetic beings. Why? Because we're thinking feeling magnetic beings. And just like you would have to ground the lightning that hits the house, you want to ground the electrical charge of trapped emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. So trapped emotion, the pain or the trauma, is not moving out of your body. You might not be aware you have it. EFT has been proven very, very helpful with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because you can't quite access the point of stress. By tapping and being grounded, you ground that energy and you reclaim freedom to move forward. In our practice, we've developed our own brand of EFT. We call it Free Me EFT. And the reason we have done it is because while the original EFT is incredibly powerful, it releases the emotion that you no longer want. But it lacked the way to properly align you with the new feeling. And, universe abhors vacuum. If we release anger, all of a sudden grief comes in. If we release grief, apathy comes in. So with Free Me EFT, we teach our clients how to release the heavy, trapped emotions, stress, overwhelm, pain, sensitivities, and then replace them through the heart-centered, gentle affirmation and tapping with the energy we'd rather have. I have several instructors that teach the technique now in the world, and it's slowly, taking a life and form of its own as people are discovering the power of EFT. And so you can tap out any feeling. If you've known nothing about EFT and you wanted to apply it this very second, you might be experiencing heaviness in your body. As a feeling, you don't know what it is, it's okay. You don't need to remember all the points. You can tap under your eyes simply by saying this feeling, this feeling, this feeling. And when you take a big deep breath that body forces you to do after tapping, simply release, pause, and feel the shift. And that little tiny, almost not knowing anything, might get somebody through the middle of anxious episode. It has helped before. And we are currently working on adding simple EFT strategies to our Empower-Me app. Probably by next March, we'll have that as one of the many bonuses in the app for somebody to tap through.
So what at the moment is in your app?
So at the moment, and it's continually growing. So it's my favorite thing. Did you see the shift in excitement as I grab my phone? I'm like, oh, I get to talk about my app. We've done a lot of things. The excitement about the app is very genuine because I use it daily. There's so much study about meditation, for example, but I'm a busy person. My first book was called Until You Win. Or why the tortoise, 8 secrets to winning the race of life, or why the tortoise always wins. And in that book, I say, look, I'm not a tortoise, I'm a hare. Is there hope for hares in this life? I get why the tortoise wins, but if you're wired differently, can you win in life as a unique person that you are? I mean, that was the premise of the first book. And so what I found is the miracle of 3 minutes. And that is in 3 minutes a day, you can really change and shift your life. All my books, all my classes have been created with 3-minute focus a day. So we've created 3-minute meditations. They're guided meditations with different topics that if you have 3 minutes in the morning, you can center and you can start your day. That's one of the things that are called mini-mads in Empower-Me app. Then there are blessings. And the blessing is I'll always tell people, I don't give you blessings. I can witness a blessing through the words that I'm given as you receive them from your creator. So that's the purpose for the blessings. There is a My Freedom set for those who are struggling with addiction or abuse and are seeking for private help. They're not ready yet or can't afford help. There's My Money, the 35 laws. My answer, very popular, it is aligned with what you're seeking now. And there's a very tender set that's called My Grief. And My Grief covers 90 aspects of grief. In what it does, it validates an aspect that you might be going through. It teaches you how to visualize releasing it. And then it gives you an affirmation to affirm into your heart to receive a small healing. I really believe the earth is grieving. I think humanity is grieving. We might or might not know it. And grief, if it's not processed, prevents us from reclaiming the peace and finding purpose and living a life of prosperity. So that's our little Empower-Me app, and it's continually growing. We're committed to keeping the price the same at about $20 a year subscription while continually adding the value.
And would one just go into their app store and look for Empower Me?
Yep, it's Empower little M big E. Everything is little M big E because it's a formula for how I see each human being. When I say I am me or you say I am me, it's mortal matter that manifests material things that through love surrenders to eternal energy. That is the essence of our expansion on this earth. So to me, it's always a reminder of there's a big sacred me and there is a little scared me. And only loving the scared me does the sacred me grow and develop.
And where can people find you?
I think the best introduction to the value that we offer would be at moneyquiz.me. Little M big E. And when you take that quiz, it's a fun way to learn the driving emotion in your life and the 3 laws of prosperity that might help you to channel that emotion to be productive and fulfilling. It's called What's Your Money Healing Mode. So once you take the quiz, you become a part of our tribe, and then you can learn of anything that we offer if anything is of interest, or simply going to my site you2shine.com, you2shine.com.
And I will put all of the links into the show notes for you. So do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Well, whenever I have an opportunity, I try to share this little story that touches me deeply and has shaped who I am and what I do. And I always say, if you've heard the story before in a different rendition, don't shut your mind. Open your heart to my version. It might touch you differently. And the story begins in 1400s in Italy, where sculptor Donatello is commissioned to carve a sculpture. He's given a huge slab of marble. He studies that marble and finds that it's very faulty. It has veins. So he rejects the marble. 50 years later, another great sculptor, Michelangelo, out of that very marble, carves a beautiful sculpture of David, who still stands in Florence in the open air. Had blessing to see it. Yes. It's gorgeous. And when he's asked, how could you possibly carve this beautiful David out of this faulty marble, he answers, I saw the angel in the marble, and I carved until I set him free. I believe that's what each one of us has come to, get rid of the marble.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps. That's beautiful. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I really appreciate your time and your input. And I would really strongly encourage people to go get your money quiz. Again, that will be in the show notes for people. And thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you for the work you do and for the space you've created for all of us to lean into your beautiful wisdom and wholeness here. I appreciate it much.
Thanks. You have been listening to the Living Life Naturally podcast, where we're on a mission to inform, inspire, and encourage women to live their best life confidently, joyfully, and freely from what's been holding them back. For show notes and free resources, visit holistic-healthandwellness.com. And I'd be delighted if you'd follow us on socials to connect further. If you enjoyed this show, why not share it with your friends? If you found good value, chances are they will too. And of course, a 5-star review on iTunes is always greatly appreciated, as much as I appreciate you listening. So until next time, live life naturally and joyfully.